are the biggest gaming leaks and news you've probably missed this week. So, check this out. Mafia: The Old Country just proves something the entire gaming industry keeps forgetting. You don't need to charge $70 to make a hit. Yeah, 2K confirmed it. The game straight up beat their internal sales expectations on PS5. And that's wild, because this wasn't some bloated open world or a 10-year live service experiment. It was a smaller, story-driven game priced at $50. Just 50. And it worked. Big time. Within days of launch, it sold around 800,000 copies, with nearly half of that on PlayStation alone. Think about that for a second. No microtransactions, no deluxe digital horse armor, just a solid story and a fair price tag. And people showed up for it. This kind of proves there's a sweet spot, right? That $50 zone where gamers stop second-guessing their wallet and just hit buy. Because let's be honest, $70 is starting to feel like a gamble. You drop that kind of cash on a game now and hope it isn't another broken mess that needs 3 patches and a miracle. But 50? That feels safe. That feels like, yeah, I'll take the risk. It's not just Mafia either. We've been seeing this pattern all year. Smaller, cheaper games absolutely crushing it. Look at stuff like Black Myth, Wukong, Pacific Drive, Tales of Kenzira, and even Stellar Blade when it launched under the 60 mark for its base version. People are starting to reward fair pricing and focused design. And you know what the real kicker is? Publishers are noticing. Strauss Zelnick from 2K literally said this was the perfect example of how a more contained experience at a fair price can still make money. Translation: expect more of this. Because for every $200 million blockbuster that barely breaks even, a mid-budget, well-crafted game like The Old Country can quietly walk in, make its money back, and build a loyal fan base. Other examples include Helldivers 2, Arc Raiders, Claire Obscure, and Dispatch. All of these games are under $70, some even under $50, and they don't feel any less valuable than a AAA pricing model. Actually, they feel like they're worth more than what some of these AAA studios are trying to charge you. Remember how they tried to charge $80 for Outer Worlds 2? Yeah, that didn't turn out so great, did it? They pivoted back to $70. But now that the game is out, people are saying it should have been $50 at most, and they tried to charge $80? Can you believe that? The biggest win of them all? Hollow Knight. Silksong launched for $20 and broke the entire Steam app. The coolest part about all these games we talked about here is this: $80 for a game will not become the standard anytime soon, because gamers aren't buying them. Gamers are buying more AA games today than AAA. In my opinion, games should actually go back to a maximum of $60, because even $70 isn't doing that great. Think about it. Simple math. You launch a game at $70, right? You sell 3 million copies. Studios say that needs to be the bare minimum to make a profit, right? Now let me tell you why that's BS. 90% of gamers buy games digitally. Digital means it costs the studio nothing to create an infinite number of copies. They're already saving millions by not making many physical games. And if we look at the Steam crowd, that's 100% digital purchases. So I don't get their logic at all. Okay, let's do simple math. And this is where it'll hit you. 3 million copies sold at $70 equals how much revenue? $210 million, right? Now check this out. Let's say the devs launch the same game at $60. That $10 difference makes a bigger impact than you'd think. Instead of 3 million sales, the game sells 6 million or even more. But let's stick to 6 million for now. 6 times 60 is $360 million in revenue. Now, it might not seem like much at first when you take into consideration what a studio pays platforms like PlayStation and Steam to have the game on the storefront. But the key thing here is value. Make it $60, make a premium edition $75, add a skin here and there, and you'll quadruple your revenue and profits simply because you already have the customer in your hands. 30% of the $60 buyers will buy a cosmetic or upgrade to a premium edition after playing for a while. How do I come up with this stuff, you might ask? Well, I worked in sales and marketing for 10 years. This is marketing and sales 101. You know what's funny? I actually think we might go back to $60 games sooner than people expect. Sounds crazy, right? Especially after all the talk about rising development costs and premium experiences. But look around, the industry's already pushing back in quiet ways. Here's the thing. Studios tried that $80 experiment, and most of them got burned. Outer Worlds 2 flopped at that price point. People waited for sales. Even Ubisoft pulled back on their pricing for upcoming titles because $70 already feels like too much for for most players, especially when the average gamer's backlog is already massive. Then there's the rise of the mid-tier, those $40 to $60 games that are performing insanely well. Helldivers 2, Arc Raiders, Claire Obscure, Stellar Blade, these are all proof that quality doesn't have to mean overpriced. Players don't mind paying for value, but they hate feeling ripped off. Economically, it's also shifting in that direction. Inflation hit people hard. The casual crowd isn't dropping $80 every other month, so studios will have no choice but to adapt, just like how movies went from expensive theater releases back to cheaper streaming access. And here's another kicker: live service fatigue. Players are tired of being nickel and dimed. They'd rather pay $50 or $60 upfront for a solid, single-player game than deal with microtransactions and $80 deluxe editions that add nothing meaningful. Alright, so this Rockstar situation. Yeah, it's messy, like corporate panic mode kind of messy. Here's what's going down. An anonymous Rockstar employee went on GTA forums and basically dropped a bombshell. They're claiming the recent layoffs weren't about leaks at all. They were about union busting. Yeah, not just bad timing or company restructuring. Straight up trying to kill a union before it could stand on its feet. Picture this. A bunch of Rockstar devs in the UK had been organized with the IWGB. That's the Independent Workers' Union of Great Britain. Things were actually going well. They'd hit the numbers they needed to push for formal recognition. And then, boom, a wave of gross misconduct firings out of nowhere. The anonymous dev says there were no leaks in the union Discord. None. It wasn't some secret GTA 6 info dump server. It was just a private chat between union organizers and IWGB officials, talking about wages, burnout, and crunch. The usual stuff workers actually need to discuss. And then, right when they were about to go public, HR apparently calls them in for 5-minute meetings, hands them a letter, and kicks them out of the building. No union rep allowed in the room, no time to respond. Just, you're done. That's the part that really stings, because under UK law, you're supposed to be allowed representation in those meetings. So if this story checks out, Rockstar might have broken more than just moral boundaries. Now, Rockstar's official line is the usual corporate PR response. These employees were sharing confidential information, neat, tidy, perfectly rehearsed. But the union's saying, nah, that's BS. This is targeted retaliation. And the fact that most of the people fired were part of the union organizing committee, yeah, that doesn't look like a coincidence. That looks like a warning shot. So here's the bigger question. Was this about leaks, or was Rockstar digging through union chat logs, looking for any excuse to nuke the movement before it got recognized? Because if it's the latter, that's a huge deal, like industry-shifting deal. This isn't just about a few layoffs anymore. This could decide how far game studios can go in using confidentiality as a shield to silence organizing. It's the kind of legal case that could set the tone for the entire gaming industry going forward, especially with crunch, pay gaps, and burnout still being massive problems. So yeah, Arc Raiders actually runs on the Steam Deck. I didn't expect that, like, at all. But here we are, Valve just casually flexing with this thing. The Steam Deck has turned into this underdog beast, something that started as a niche toy for tech nerds and somehow evolved into a legit, portable gaming powerhouse. You can fire up Arc Raiders, Elden Ring, even Cyberpunk, and it'll handle them like a champ with a few tweaks. The OLED model pushed it even further. Better battery, sharper screen, smoother frame pacing. Sure, you'll still drain the battery fast if you're running heavy stuff, but man, for what it costs. It's kind of insane how much performance Valve squeezed out of it. Here's the secret sauce. It's not running Windows. That's honestly what saved it. Valve built the Steam Deck around Steam OS, their custom Linux-based system, and it's a genius move. Most handheld PCs are basically mini Windows laptops pretending to be consoles, and that's where they choke. They spend half their power running a bloated OS that doesn't even want to be handheld. Steam OS, though, it's lightweight, efficient, and tailored for gaming from the ground up. That's why the deck still feels smooth 2 years later, while most Windows handhelds are already gasping for air. You're not fighting the system, you're just playing games. Valve keeps optimizing it too. Every update squeezes out a few extra frames, improves battery management, and makes Proton, their compatibility layer, even better. The result is that the deck feels feels like a living device, constantly evolving, instead of hardware stuck in 2022. They didn't chase max specs, they chased balance. It's like they said, let's make something affordable that just works. And they actually pulled it off. You don't see that often in gaming hardware. Now, fast forward to the Nintendo Switch 2, which is actually out now. Nintendo dropped it earlier this year, and it's basically what everyone wanted the first Switch to be. Full 1080p screen, HDR, up to 120Hz refresh rate, a custom NVIDIA chip under the hood, and it just works. It's not aiming for PS5 level power, but it's delivering super optimized games that run great on the go. And at $450, it hits that sweet spot where you don't feel like you're overpaying for portable gaming. So with all that in mind, here's where it gets exciting. Sony. If they follow through with the PS6 handheld that everyone's whispering about, they've got the blueprint right in front of them. Steam Deck proved performance handhelds can sell. Switch 2 proved you can nail the price and usability. Now, Sony just needs to bring both together. Give us a $450, $500 handheld that runs PS6 games natively or through smart upscaling. Throw in remote play that actually feels seamless. And boom, you've got something that'll easily outshine the $1,000 ROG Ally X. Honestly, if Sony plays this right, it's not just another handheld, it's the start of a whole new golden era for portable gaming.
And aside!
I do not take orders from anyone!
I don't have time for this.
Neither do I.
So let's talk about Marvel Rise of Hydra, the game that looked like it was going to be a huge cinematic banger, and now, well, it's kind of floating in development limbo. So here's the deal. This thing was first revealed, 2 years ago? March 2024, and the main person behind it is Amy Hennig, the same mind that gave us Uncharted. She's a serious veteran. But after that whole messy situation during Uncharted 4's production, where Naughty Dog brought in Neil Druckmann and Bruce Straley to finish the job, Amy dipped and started her own path. She worked on a Star Wars project that got canned, a few other things, and eventually landed at her new studio, Skydance New Media. That's where Marvel 1943 comes in. It's built on Unreal Engine 5, looks absolutely stunning, and stars Captain America and Black Panther in a World War II setting. On paper, that sounds incredible, but the big mystery, we still have no idea what kind of game this actually is. Now, about a month ago, there was a gameplay leak, and it looked surprising. Think of old school Resident Evil camera angles, a bit of button mashy combat, kind of cinematic, not super open. Not bad, just not what anyone expected from a Marvel title led by Amy Hennig. And now we've hit the big news, another delay. Originally, this thing was supposed to drop early 2026. Before that, it was 2025. Now, Skydance says it's being pushed beyond early 2026, which is corporate talk for we don't know when it's coming out. Their statement was all the usual stuff. We're committed to quality. We want to deliver something special. Thank you for your patience. The whole checklist. But when a studio says indefinite delay, that's never a great sign. It usually means something isn't clicking. And honestly, that's what I'm worried about here. We haven't seen any official gameplay, just flashy cutscenes used as Unreal Engine showcases. It feels like this might end up being one of those 4-hour cinematic experiences. Lots of cutscenes, very little hands-on gameplay, which, to be fair, doesn't automatically make it bad. But if you're expecting a full-blown action adventure, you might want to dial those expectations down a bit. Now, to be fair, maybe the delay's for the better. Maybe Amy and the team realized fans want more than just a playable movie and are adding depth to the combat or extending the story. Or maybe performance just isn't there yet. Nobody outside that studio really knows. But indefinite delay is one of those phrases that gives every gamer PTSD. And while we're on it, Marvel's not exactly killing it lately in gaming. Midnight Suns flopped, Avengers flopped harder, and Wonder Woman dead in the water. It's like superhero games are going through the same midlife crisis as the MCU right now. At the end of the day, I want Marvel 1943 to succeed. Amy Hennig deserves that redemption arc. But as of right now, this feels more like a tech showcase than a fully fleshed out game. Let's hope the delay actually means they're making it better and not just quietly losing confidence. If you enjoyed this video, hey, maybe drop a like. It really helps a lot and tells me you want more. Subscribe for day one gaming leaks and news, and check out these videos you probably missed. Trust me, they're worth it.